Okay, before we get into the business items of the agenda, I'm going to have a little chairman privilege, which is not on the agenda, but it's not an action item either, so it's okay. I was so impressed to one of our faculty members in Riverside, on her own time, actually created a yearbook through Jostens for us, for all pivot sites. And so this is our first yearbook.
That's awesome.
And I want to present
first pivot-wide.
Pivot-wide yearbook. Yeah,
Other
right.
sites have
Pivot-wide
those,
yearbook.
yes.
And so I was so impressed that you can actually get to see all, not all, but those who should, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you're in it.
There you are.
Okay.
But I mean, to see all of our children and what they have been doing, not all of our, those who showed up, like even like kindergarten, when I grew up, I went to be, this is San Diego.
Yeah.
I mean, this was so well done. And I really enjoyed reviewing this on Wednesday. For those who showed up in the year and our teachers. So I want to give each board member a yearbook. It is indeed. I really wanted you to have one because this is why we do it. And you can see our kids and our teachers and what they're doing. And it's just incredible. And here you go, Dr. Campbell, please. And it's just incredible to see the things we're doing. And the first page has an ugly face, but that's okay. You got to get through that. But this is why we do it. And to have a pivots-wide yearbook is incredible. And she did all this on her own. She organized the photo.
She's on right now.
Oh, thank you. She organized the photo shoot.
You're welcome, everyone.
I told you I was proud of you, and I'm telling you, because I'm bragging about you at the board meeting. I mean, the photo shoots, or the students and the teachers, and collecting all this on her own time. I mean, it's incredible. And this is why we do it. So I'm really glad that we can present that to you.
We should put this on our website.
It's, I mean, phenomenal to see.
These are a lot of the pictures that are on.
Yeah, and for our board members, for you to see, this is why you do it, right? Yeah. So you can see the kids, and you can see what we're doing, and it's incredible. So I'm really, thank you. I'm so glad we can present that to the board members, and I thank you for your effort. The problem is when you volunteer for something like this, we'll see it next year. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, all of our sites need to get a little bit better on getting behind this project and getting their kids to come out. But again, it's a challenge that we have at all of our.
It's one of those things we always
to engage.
Yes, and we are an alternative to traditional school. I get it, and we struggle with. How traditional are we going to be and not be, right? And we've talked about that with our prom and with our clubs and with our ASB. I get that. And that's for you to deal with, Jana. Sorry. That's not the volunteers pay grade. Yeah. Where we cross that line and but this is really cool. I don't know, how long we can keep it up or anything else, but I really am. Thank you. I'm really grateful for it.
Thank you, Tornado, under my wings.
I want to give you Yay, thank you. Okay. All right. Let me pull my agenda back up here. Okay, so those are the reports to the board, and we will now move into our discussion and action items. So the first item is my report, so I'll give it, is our nominating committee report and appointment of a vice chairperson. So first of all, in March, the nominating committee I appointed was myself and Secretary Halverson. And we looked at our board seats. Mr. Southern and Mr. Siegel were open, and we interviewed them to ask if they were interested. They were interested. Thank you both, gentlemen, for continuing to want to serve. We gave them a grueling interview and found that it is in the interest of the school that they both be continuing service. And so it is my recommendation that we vote to reappoint Mr. Sutherland and Mr. Siegel for a 4-year term. So that's the first action. And Dr. Halverson and I are very pleased that you both will continue. So thank you. I know, and I think we have a lot of work to do. I think there's more engagement that we need to work on. We'll talk about that later. But I am very grateful for both of you wanting to continue. I know it's a lot of work, and like your board, we volunteer. So it's a lot of work on weekends and other things, but I'm very grateful. So I will have an action on that. We did have a resignation of Vice Chair Harrigan. I don't know if Dr. Harrigan, I don't think he's online, but if you are, sir, I thank you for your years of service. Is he online? Okay, well, I'll save that. So he did email me that he couldn't be here today, but he will attend in August. Yes. And so we'll have a formal presentation to Dr. Harrigan of a beautiful item. and we'll laud him then, and he'll be able to speak to us. So, but he was the superintendent of our authorizer in Santa Rosa, and was a terrific superintendent. And he was so in love with our school that when he retired, I asked him, please join our board. And he did. And he served on our board for, I would say 9 years, 8 years, a long time. And just a terrific educator, passionate about children. He really helped us. We'll miss him. So he was, but he moved to Palm Springs. And, you know, there you go. and he deserves to enjoy his retirement. And so we're very grateful for the years we had. So, so Dr. Harrigan retired. My recommendation to the board is that we hold that seat open. We have a mandate of, I believe, 5 board members, right? We grew to 7 at the interest of our authorizers to make sure that we were represented. So, but I'm recommending we keep the seat vacant as chairman, and so to have that in our pocket if we need to have a representation or something else. So, my recommendation is 1, that we reappoint both of you gentlemen, that we leave Mr. Harrigan or Dr. Harrigan's seat vacant. And I'm interested in the vice chairperson recommending Pat Martell. I say that because Pat and I have similar philosophies, management styles, her ability to facilitate a meeting, her availability and her proximity to Santa Rosa, our largest site. I think it's all very important. And so those are my recommendations, that we would reappoint both of you gentlemen, leave the 7th seat vacant, and appoint Ms. Martell as vice chair.
That's quite the mouthful.
A lot. There you go. So before we take action on that, is there any questions?
I have one question and one comment. Question is, am I allowed to vote for myself?
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't, do we have a quorum on that vote? Does it matter?
You can vote for yourself
Oh,
because it's a
excellent.
recommendation of the nominating committee.
Fantastic. Then my question to you is
You better vote
about
for yourself.
is about
I'll hit you.
just point of order is about the vacancy, and it's not the questioning whether you want to keep it open or not, but are there any skill sets that we don't have now that we should be looking for, instead of just saying let's keep a spot open?
That's a great question.
What do we want to try to cover that we're not covering today? And that's maybe not for right now, but for a
That's
future.
a great question. So I think we need to answer that, right? I think we need to answer the geography question and the what skill sets are missing, right? I don't know. That's why I didn't feel comfortable filling it, because we haven't talked about it.
Right.
I think it's a great question, and perhaps we can discuss
Next
that
meeting or
next meeting
full
or in
meeting?
January
Right.
at our strategic planning or next.
Right.
Would you,
Strategic planning.
would you like to agendize that for the next meeting or?
Sure.
Okay, can we make a
I
note of
could.
that, Liz? Thank you. Let's talk about it. OJ?
Good idea.
Okay, and we'll discuss that seat. I think that's great. Very good. So we'll make a note of that, please.
I'm sorry, I'm mesmerized by this.
Your book, it's amazing.
I am.
I should have waited till the end.
Yeah,
I handed it out to you guys. It's like eye candy. Now you're all.
I'm just
you're
like-
not going to pay attention to the rest of the
Yeah,
meeting.
no, I'm
We're
just
actually
like-
in the business portion of the meeting, so you actually have to vote. Pay
Oh,
attention.
I'm sorry, I'll stop.
Are your board members this distracting?
Yes.
I totally made an error handing you the yearbook.
Yes, you did. Yeah,
Okay.
I have to-
So as
I'll
chairman,
make a motion.
I actually put a motion on the floor, so you can second my
I'll
motion.
I'll second. the motion.
Okay. Before we do that, we have to take public comment. I apologize. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on the nomination and election of board members and officers? Not in the room, online. Is there any members of the public who wish to speak? No? Okay, then the motion and second are in order. Are there any further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's a grueling re-election campaign. Thank you. I appreciate your
Thank you both.
Thank you for being willing to serve. It's
It's a great offer.
I really appreciate it. Okay, the next item is the regular meeting schedule. So this is Ms. Gaskell
Yeah.
or me or you?
Well, it's you, but these are based off of.
First item wore me out.
Liz created it based
Doesn't take
on,
much.
reflecting this year's similar dates. we would very much like to make sure that we have our June meeting dovetail off of North Bay's graduation. So
Yes.
whatever you decide in June, you cannot change, because we're going to make sure North Bay's graduation
Which the 7th?
is
The
well,
7th.
whatever day you end up with in June, because this is your calendar. You guys have to check your calendars. You have to
Well, the meeting is on Saturday, you're saying. Oh, well, we're not there yet.
correct.
All right.
So, but we can't change it. This year we ended up possibly discussing June's change of the board meeting. We only changed one of the two, which is the one that's further out. But we can't change it if we're going to have graduation dovetail with it.
No,
like
we
used to.
should 100% do that.
Yes, that's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
I agree with you.
Now, I cannot make the board meeting on the 30th. I will unfortunately be March 30th. I'll be unfortunately suffering a trip to Hawaii for spring break with my family. So you all can have a great time. Did
So,
we
and
decide
if you
this?
recall, the reason why this one is slightly changed is because for the last couple of years, since we've had to have all of our meetings in Sonoma County, the meeting has always been the Saturday, either starting North Bay spring break or ending North Bay spring break. So nobody was here for you to see and meet. So we wanted to avoid that and make sure we
Mhm.
tried to avoid that. So this avoids that. There are some dates, Mr. Lewis, that you suggested that you are available in April, and there were some other March dates, but we
But
want
those
to,
don't work.
yeah.
You want to stick to that one?
Well, it's up to you guys. This is your calendar.
Well, so I was suggesting, well, you're the boss. You have to tell them.
I just don't want
If it doesn't work for
I
you-
just don't want it dovetailing their spring break because they like to be here and
Do
like
we
to
know
have-
when the spring break? When's the
Yes,
spring
we
break?
have the spring break.
Huh?
It is.
It's on here?
It's in
I'm
our,
looking at our
one of
team
our
over here.
items to approve today,
When's your spring break?
next year.
Next year.
Hold on, I
It's
guess.
in board doc.
Oh,
It's March 18th through 22nd,
So we don't want it on the
the 23rd.
23rd and
Or
we
the
don't want it on the
16th.
16th.
okay. So I was suggesting that I could do the 13th of April. Was that too late? Too close to June?
Liz, yeah, you and I didn't even get a chance to talk about this as I talked with Jim about it just the other night. It could be our, budget workshop kind of a meeting as well. Because we'll have more of the budget further along by April.
I should like that.
April 13th.
Well, you gentlemen, April 13th.
Wide open
Let
at
me
this
pull
point.
up March's agenda
no
and see
obligation.
if there's
Well,
Well,
anything.
it's the second interim,
Out of town.
because they,
Yeah, but that's always right.
Oh, you don't know?
yes, it's ratified, but.
You don't have any plans right now? Do you share a trip or anything?
To ratify it, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like there is for the,
On April
audit
13th?
report this
Okay.
week of January.
So OJ can't make April 13th. So, so we leave on the 22nd and come back on the 6th. So
Should we not do this when we've got?
I think we have to approve a regular meeting agenda though.
Okay, okay,
You can
okay.
always change it in August or, if you have more time to discuss
Okay.
with all the. board
What,
members.
no, what works better for the staff, a March meeting or an April meeting? Because you're splitting board members. I mean, if April's better
I was
than-
intrigued about having it in April because we could make it more of a budget workshop
Yeah,
meeting.
I like that.
okay.
But I had not run it past Liz because you and I just talked about it the other night, Jim.
Well,
so-
OJ, I don't mean to exclude, but if it's better for the staff, can we set that? And then if you can call in, you can call in.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll be at all the board meetings,
Okay.
one way or the other.
Okay, so let's change that March 30th to April 13th.
And actually, the 13th looks okay to me.
Oh, it does.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
great. Then let's do that. Okay.
So if June 8th works for everybody,
Yes, it does. Then the
then
graduation will
your
be the 7th.
graduation is June 7th. Go get a contract, Travis.
Get on that. Thank you for lining that up.
So,
That's-
yes,
The whole
it's
the
very
whole board
important.
hasn't been at a graduation for a long
A very
time.
long
Yeah.
And that'd be very special for our large school that we
Yes.
could all be there. So that's terrific. Thank you. Okay, so with that modification, are any questions of the board on the proposed agenda or schedule of meetings? Okay, if not, then I'll ask for public comment. Are there any public members of the public wishing to speak on the schedule of regular board meetings for this coming year? Okay, hearing none, then I will close that and ask for a motion to approve the board meeting calendar.
So moved.
Thank you. Second, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next item is the declaration of need for fully qualified educators for each Pivot Charter School. I would hope we have fully qualified educators. Ms. Dawson?
It's the declaration of need is the important
We
part
need
of
them.
that title.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Um,
Morning.
So it is time again to submit the Declaration of Need for fully qualified educators. This Declaration of Need is a form that we do submit annually. We have to. And then we submit it to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, or the CTC. Each of our schools does have their own form, and that will, it serves as a prerequisite for the CTC to authorize any emergency permits that our teachers need. So we are asking for board approval on these forms. If approval is granted, we will submit to our counties or our districts, and then to the CTC. Once the CTC has these on file, it does allow any teachers who need emergency permits to submit their application. That has to be first. This does not mean that we don't have fully qualified educators, or that we will be submitting emergency permits, or that we even have to. It just is the first step to be able to allow us to, if that need does arise. So that's what these are in annual form, and we'll be presenting these every June.
Okay.
Any questions on these?
I'm just glad you gave a staff report to the board. That's cool. Good to see you. I love it when we get to see our administrative team. That's terrific.
This
Yeah,
FTE increases over the current, or is this just
Yeah,
replacement?
so this would be if we have a need from a teacher who doesn't have the right credential,
I see,
and we
okay.
need to get an emergency permit to fill that need.
Okay.
So it's not something we anticipate, but it is something that has to be on file already.
It's a tool
So-
for flexibility.
Yes.
Exactly, and then if for some reason we had something that wasn't on here, we would submit a revised one, but that does take quite a bit of time, so we're trying to be proactive about it.
Of course.
Proactive, always better.
Yes.
Other questions? Good question. Other questions?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, are there members of the public wishing to speak on item 4.3? No. Okay, seeing none, then I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Moved by Mr. Holmes, second by Sutherland. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you, Cindy.
Thank you, Brittany.
All right, this next item, 4.4 is the DOS application for North Bay, and I'm very interested. I think you were probably very involved in this.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
thank
we're
you.
all, as I pass the baton.
So this is something we talked about in March, and I think it recognizes the challenges of our students and the type of students we have. And this is the students we're trying to serve. So I'll turn this over to you, Ms. Gaskell, but I'm really grateful that while this isn't a club to be in per se, it recognizes the challenges we have. And I'm grateful that we can do this because it helps us continue to serve the students. So go ahead.
Open that up
Two
first.
really exciting slides,
Yes,
Two
two
exciting
slides.
slides.
Yes.
minus the title slide.
There's one exciting slide.
As you know, because Pivot North Valley qualified several years ago, we needed unduplicated, so you can be in two categories, but we can't count them twice.
Mhm.
70% of the school's total enrollment, and these are the criteria that would of the
Dr. Campbell, those are our kids.
They are.
And
Ours
that's-
too.
But
Yes.
by design, I mean,
Yes,
we're
by
trying to-
design, they're
Yeah.
all yours.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's, I often talk to our authorizer here in North Bay. And she said, she goes, what I realized when we became superintendent, she said that we all have kids like this. Every school district does, and the bigger the school district, the more they are, but we have 70% of one school.
And we
Yeah.
tool ourselves to serve these kids,
Yeah.
to take them out of your hands, to
Correct.
serve them, and then hopefully return them to you.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
um,
There's one more slide.
Yes, I know.
well, hold on, I want to say I'm enjoying the slide, but
The challenge with all of our schools becoming DAS schools, dashboard alternative schools, is that we are a K-12 school. The majority of DAS schools are high school, hence the criteria. There are not many pregnant or parenting third graders, right? Let's hope not, right? And recovered dropouts, they typically don't drop out in elementary. And credit deficient, there are no credits in elementary, right? Foster youth, there are plenty. Wards of the court, generally not elementary. There's some, but
Interesting.
so the challenge is when where we have elementary programs, 3 of our 4 sites, this is just a numerical thing. It's a math problem, right? There's a numerator and a denominator. And the denominator is all of our students,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So the
Interesting.
quotient can't get to 70% when I have K5, K8 arguably, but K5, these things start to be more prevalent in middle school. So I would argue that K5 should be taken out, but there's no provision for that.
Yeah.
Okay, you got me thinking. Can Rhodes Education Organization have a separate elementary school that leases the site?
You would have to have a separate charter under the same authorizer, which would have twice as many financial reports,
And
twice as many LCAPs.
You can just say no. Stop it, Chairman.
Calm down, Chairman. Not a bad idea,
We
right?
have talked about it internally over the years. Lindsay and Liz and I have had this conversation a couple of times, but it would be
Okay.
twice the amount of work at every
Yeah.
site. That said, there's only 2 that haven't qualified, and that's Riverside and San Diego.
And probably because of elementary, right?
Yeah, it depends on the year of the elementary, which is why I was like, what was it, October, November? I'm like, Lance, our elementary numbers are down in North Bay. Our high school numbers are up. We know we're getting kids that have more trauma. Run DAS. And at first she was like, no, I don't think that, well, maybe so. And she starts doing her little magic and ran it. And she said, yeah, they're going to qualify. And it was just that it stood out at me that the elementary was small and our high school was bigger, which is the first time. Because usually, when Julie left the program,
Yeah,
Julie
right.
Smith left the program, got smaller. I'm really excited that we have a brand new teacher for that program next year full time. But but we're going to be DAS now. So we got it. So that's any questions about the criteria?
No.
Okay. So this is
Oh,
specific.
it's so small. I'm so
I know,
sorry.
it's in your thing though. This is
I memorized it.
specifically North Bay. Now, what does it mean to be DAS? All it means is that we get an
Thank you,
asterisk on our
Liz.
dashboard. We get an asterisk on all the CSI, ATSIs, all of that gets asterisked. And it just means, hey, look,
You
this
get
is
space.
the school's
I mean,
purpose.
yeah.
They just get a little different view of who we are. They understand right from the get-go when you see that asterisk, who our population is.
Mhm.
So,
But this is also important for the school board to see.
yes.
I mean, look, we're helping the kids that you couldn't serve.
Yes.
And that's by design. I mean, and so I'm grateful that you put the effort into this because this is when I started the school, this is the kids I wanted to help. So this is exactly what I would think. And now I understand why all of our schools aren't in it because you explain the math. So, but it's an important tool. And when we come up for reauthorization here, we can ask the school board, really? You
Another conversation.
got it.
Oak
So
Grove
close.
knows. Oak Grove understands this very well. They understand. They're our authorizer. It's if we had to go to a new authorizer that we would be having that conversation.
That's what I meant.
Oak Grove
if we
fully
had to,
understands
yeah.
us. So we don't want to have to go to a new authorizer if we don't need to.
Thanks for reframing my thoughts.
I was trying to.
Very good.
Anyway.
That's why you're the boss.
Yeah. Onward, upward.
Okay. Any questions? Thank
No
you,
Any
Liz.
questions of the board on our DAS application?
So what we
No.
have to do is we have to send a letter to our authorizing superintendent. We already have the copy ready to go out of Jasmine's outbox.
So do you sign that,
No,
or-
mine goes, I'm sorry, you and I signed.
signed
Oh, that's
the
right. We did that last-
eligibility
That's right.
last
That's right. That's
time,
right.
because
March.
we had to
Yeah.
declare that
I remember
first.
that.
We
That's
signed that gets sent off to CDE.
Okay.
I send a memo to Amber Stringfellow at Oak Grove, and
Great.
Jasmine does the rest. She just
Great.
wiggles her nose and we're DAS.
Other questions? Thank you for the effort, both of you. Really important. Really good for our school. Okay, and members of the public wishing to speak on item 4.4. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the DAS application for Pivot Charter School North Bay.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Sutherland.
Second.
Second, Holmes, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next item, Liz, is our arts, music, instructional materials grant.
Yes, so as we just discussed in the financial presentation, this is a bit up in the air at the moment, what the
Yeah.
amounts will be.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Table?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
but at this point,
something.
We have developed our plans to be fairly general because of that uncertainty. So this is the list of allowable uses of the grant funds. So while the name is arts, music, and instructional materials, they do have a whole laundry list of things, including operational costs related to healthcare and STRS and things like that. So even though the name says arts, music, and instructional materials, it really is a discretionary grant designed to help schools with all sorts of things that they're struggling with, kind of in the aftermath and the new normal, kind of post-pandemic or, tail end of pandemic, and economic circumstances being what they are. So the grant provisions allow for a fairly large flexibility. So at this time, especially because of the uncertainty, we didn't want to, have our plans include too much in the way of like new programs and new costs, if then that money is going to get taken back and we won't be able to fund them. So at this point, I'll bring up one of the plans here. We have all of the funds allocated in this operational costs area because of the uncertainty as to what will happen with the actual funding levels. So we have it slated to be spent entirely next year, but that can also change. So depending on what happens with the budget, this is the plan. But if we need to deviate from this plan, depending on what happens, we may do so. And we have that discretion with the grant. And there will be expenditure reporting and things like that. But at this point, we just need to have a plan discussed and approved at a public meeting by our governing body. Luckily, the plan and the grant does not require us to do it in 2 meetings. As you know, some of the plans we have to present in 1 meeting and then adopt at a subsequent meeting. However, this plan or this grant allows it all to be done in 1 meeting.
Now, this isn't, didn't we have a ballot initiative or the voters approved?
Prop 28.
Yes. Is this that?
This is not
that. Okay.
Yes, and that is part of the argument
Interesting.
For clawing back some of these funds. People say, oh, well, now you have Prop 28. You don't need this arts, music, and instructional materials discretionary block grant that can also be used for operational costs like healthcare and COVID things. So,
Come on.
That's normal California politics and budget.
Yes. So
I mean-
at this point, we're kind of in a little bit of a wait and see what happens with the budget.
Okay.
And Prop 28 as well. There's currently a lot of conversations because it was a ballot initiative. There's some lacking of clear definitions and things like that. So in terms of actual implementation, there are still a lot of question marks there.
So Prop 28, I know it's not this item, but isn't in our budget. We don't know.
At this point, no.
Okay.
So this is separate. This is from last year's budget, but we were holding off on approving a plan until we had more certainty. But at this point, we just kind of want to move forward with having a plan approved so that we can start spending the money
Seems prudent.
once we have more details.
So if you approve it under that category, what's the overhead in moving it around?
We do have flexibility, so we don't have to necessarily bring back a formal revised plan. We will keep you apprised of the spending, of course, as we move on, and if there are significant changes in what we use it for and things like that, we will definitely present that to you at future meetings. But there is no additional kind of reapproval required if we do need to kind of change course on those spending plans.
Good questions. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments from board members? Okay. Were you gonna say something? Oh, okay.
Sigh. Just a sigh.
Another one. Okay. Any members of the public wish to comment on item 4.5? Okay. Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve item 4.5.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. That is approved. 4.6, insurance contracts. This is with Charter Safe.
Yes, Charter Safe and MMA.
MMA, that's right.
Clellan. I always get tongue-tied over their name for some reason. But yes, so we did, if you recall, you all had directed us to investigate some other options based on our workers' compensation insurance needs and some of the limitations with the coverage that we had previously obtained through Charter Safe. So this past year was the first year that we have had split insurance where we broke out workers' compensation to a different carrier, a different provider. So the proposed contracts for next year are maintaining that same structure. So Charter Safe would still be our primary insurance for, you know, general liability, property, cyber crime, and things like that, student accident, things of the sort of general insurance nature, and they do have their kind of umbrella limits, things that kind of cover additional overages and things like that. And then Marsh McLennan would be for workers' compensation and employers' liability, plus the business travel accident policy as well that we had added on there. So the good news is the proposals for next year are not significantly increasing costs. Charter Safe has done some pretty savvy maneuvering, actually, and including, I won't get the terminology right, and Jana might be able to speak to it better, but they've opened a national sort of entity or arm to help them negotiate better rates, because the California insurance market has gotten so tight.
Stupid.
And especially for insuring the like child harassment, you know, molestation and harassment claims based on our laws here.
Okay.
So,
That's good.
so we actually have a very slight reduction in our Charter Safe premiums for next year, a little less than 1%, but it's, you know, so it's not increasing, you know, 15%.
Well, that's
In an
significant.
in an inflationary environment, that's
Insurance,
incredible.
that I wanted to point that out to the board. I mean, I talked to Jana about it. I mean, that's crazy that a JPA or an entity has a reduction, or even if you held it to 1%, you know, I mean, that's incredible.
I mean, everything else we're looking at is up substantially. I mean, look at the COLA, you know?
Right?
Yeah.
Um,
They were very excited about being able to do that, and the reason why Liz said I might be able to speak to it is, as of 2 weeks from now, I will be voted on their JPA board.
Okay, wonderful.
So,
Yeah.
it's been a 4-month long interview process.
That's terrific.
I met with Twee, their CEO, as my
Terrific.
final step, and then the board will meet in 2 weeks.
Terrific.
And vote on me. So I will be on your side of the table and
Yeah,
understand
that's
how
right.
difficult it is to serve as a volunteer.
Be a good board member. Don't be
But
mean.
I'm looking forward to it. So I'm
Yeah,
looking
know your
forward to
role.
learning a lot about the industry. So I'm very excited.
One of the questions I also ask colleagues is, that, you know, that like our city's insurance program, we're in a JPA as well. It's a limousine's the wrong term. I don't have a better term. It's a full suite of services.
Yeah.
And so when you're paying for this, you need to make sure you're using it, right?
Yeah.
And we are using it. So I asked that question specifically. It isn't just an insurance program. There's other things, training and other things that go along with it. So I think this is great. And I applaud you for being recommended for the board.
Thank you.
I think you'll be a great board member, and I think it recognizes your leadership and experience. So congratulations, Jana. That's great.
Thank
Other comments? Okay, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on item 4.6? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the insurance contracts.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. For discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. Item 4.7 is our business services contract with EdTech. Liz, I appreciate your aggressive negotiations and efforts on this. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's one of those situations where, you know, at first glance, looking at the numbers, it's like, why is the increase what it is, you know? But after doing some analysis and looking at our rates over the years and speaking with EdTech, it became apparent that we have been getting a really good deal these last few years. So that's part of the reason why there is a bit of an increase.
We helped them get going.
So we had, especially our last renewal was right at the beginning of the pandemic. And so EdTech had done everything they could to try to relieve some of that economic burden on their clients, because we were expecting huge slashes to the state budget and a big recession and everything. You know, it was that year where there was a zero COLA and potential cuts and at that time. So they had, you know, kind of aggressively tried to keep their rates low, and we did lock it in for 3 years, which was great. But since then, you know, we have seen things rebound. Our budgets the size of our overall budget has grown. We're now approximately $10 million annual budget, which is up from what it was when we last negotiated a contract with EdTech. So if you look at the sort of percent of expense or percent of revenues, this contract
3%.
is consistent. We have been historically in some years as much as 5% when we were smaller of our total annual expense and pre-CBO when it was ed tech, and then Jana overseeing ed tech. So some of those costs have shifted, obviously, as we brought some more oversight in-house. But for the next few years, the costs are anticipated to be 2.3 to 2.4%, which is on the low end of what we've historically paid.
So besides you and Cindy, on the finance side of things, is there anybody else on our staff?
We do have
Yeah.
several people.
Yeah.
So Brittany is heavily involved
Was-
with payroll
oh,
as well
okay.
as
Yeah.
Nicole.
I knew you do HR, you do payroll too. I didn't know that.
Well, with
Yes.
Liz, it's a joint.
Okay,
Yes.
We work closely on that together.
got it.
Yes, and there are a lot of things that ed tech cannot do, not being
Right.
employed as an employee of our organization. They, they're not the final responsibility who has to, sign their name to.
But
things
2%
that we
yeah,
do.
that's
So,
really reasonable considering. I was curious how many staff people we had in this thing. So still, I think for all of us to hear you say it, you've done the analysis as far as in-house versus out of the house. This is still economical. I think we've all
Yeah.
been satisfied with their services.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
We would, and just so you know, the comparison, when I was talking to other executive directors recently, and Liz has done the comparisons before, literally, but for those who do it in-house for an organization our size, we would probably need to staff up about 4.5 FTE.
Oh, that's good. Okay,
Yeah.
4.5.
So,
That's what I wanted to hear. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
And depending on what happens over the next few years, this is a 3-year contract proposal, so we can always, put it on the list to revisit that and have that analysis of really in-depth, what would it look like to, do things internally.
We have some good discounts in here. Good
Mhm.
job.
mhm. Liz negotiated some extra ones in there.
Yeah. Look at the fine print for a minute. Look how much you've grown. We used to have these people here. Now we don't need them
Right?
because you're awesome.
Yep.
All right. And we get a discount for that. There you go. Okay. Any questions on the EdTech contract? Okay. Any member of the public wish to speak on item 4.7?
EdTech's not on, are they?
Is EdTech on?
But I should add one more thing. In the contract, there are 2 different proposals, and
Oh.
the one that we are recommending is the
3-year, right?
fixed cost
Yes.
3-year.
Yeah.
Flexible.
Yes, rather than the variable expense based.
Sorry.
on-
I think I knew that because Ms. Gaskell briefed me, so I didn't ask that. But okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Is EdTech on the line?
I was kind of joking.
Come on. They got a contract and not online?
Hey, I show up to the council.
I vote
meeting.
no.
When my contract,
I know.
I always,
When you're
what are you
doing,
talking about?
when you're doing a bond financing, you're at the council
I'm
meeting. Are
I'm
you
gonna
kidding
be
me?
there in person.
Wow.
Hey, you know what? They don't have to be here. That's great.
I should get a rebate. They're not here.
Well, that's what we're getting,
$7,500. I guess we're getting $7,500.
right? Like,
All right. No public comment, no further discussion. Is there a motion to approve item
I'll
4.7?
make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Good job, Liz. I think that's a
Awesome.
good relationship. Appreciate
Yeah.
you negotiating that.
It really is.
Okay, item 4.8 is resolution 2023-2, education protection account and spending plans.
Yes, so you all are familiar with this one. We do it every year, the resolution for the education protection account. It is a portion of our state funding that requires a resolution and published spending plans and expenditure reports. So as usual, we are planning to spend this funding source on teacher salaries. So there is a resolution that describes the nature of the funds and the allowed uses and things like that. And then we have an expenditure plan for each school, which shows 100% of the anticipated revenue being spent on teacher salaries.
Okay, any questions of board members? Makes sense, we've seen this many times. Any members of the public wish to speak on item 4.8? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution 2023-2.
So moved.
Thank you. Second? I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll move to the public hearing portion of our agenda, and this is a very important item on hearing on our local control accountability plan and budget expenditures for each of our schools. I'll open the hearing for all of our schools after we have our staff report. So Liz, go ahead.
Yeah.
Or Lindsay, sorry, it's Lindsay. No, who? Jed. I'm not sure. Jump in.
Help me, save me.
The chairman's notes aren't very clear on this issue.
Framing it. So largely in the report earlier that Lindsay.
Excellent work, by the way. This is a lot of work.
Are all the details in the LCAP, but I just did want to point out that there also is the LCAP federal addendum as well as the LCAP local indicators report. So the primary LCAP document contains basically everything that was presented earlier, our actions, our goals, and the allocated budgeted expenditures for those items. But the federal addendum is something that we do that the LCAP doesn't address everything required for federal plans. So there's an addendum that we submit in addition to the LCAP that details some of those items and requirements from the feds. And then the local indicators report needs to be presented at the same time that the LCAP is adopted. We generally do it twice. We do it now in the public hearing and then again when you adopt the budget and approve the LCAP. But that is largely a self-reflective report. It is required. It does show up on our dashboard. If we don't do it, it says not met. But it's largely just, did you do it? Did you not do it? But it's sort of, things similar to the school accountability report card where we're evaluating ourselves on effectiveness of instruction. Do we have teachers in inappropriate assignments or things like that? How are we doing with engaging our educational partners and things like that? So that's kind of the frame of all of the things that we can have a public hearing about. I do believe each school is supposed to have its own separate hearing.
Okay.
Rather than doing it all together.
So open and close, yeah, right. Okay, thank you for
And
clarifying.
Lindsay or Jana, did you want to add anything?
I just wanted to add that we had more people coming to the table and helping us and acknowledge Abigail and also Kristen Poitras for and Jasmine. Yes, absolutely. And so we have more hands on deck on this. And the learning curve on how to do these is huge. And Dr. Campbell and I were joking about it yesterday. So it's great to have more people involved, and we plan to continue that process and have more people this affects and that are involved with this also help us develop the LCAP in the future. So thank you, Jasmine, Abigail, and Kristen.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing for comment on the LCAP for North Bay. Any members of the public wishing to speak on North Bay's LCAP?
Oh,
Okay.
and I just would point out, we do have an LCAP email address that was listed in the public hearing notice.
Yes.
And so I'm just looking at that and there is nothing
No.
that was submitted in edits.
I will say, I'm not a fan of reports in state government, even though I'm in city government, but I'm a city manager, Dr. Campbell. If you didn't. So I'm part of the institution, but not that much of a part of it.
I don't claim it. Got it.
But I will say, I think this is one of those, I say it every year, is terrific that we can actually see what we're being held accountable to, what we're doing, what our performance measures are, it's a great tool to show our parents what we stand for. And I think it's great. Okay, I'll close the public hearing for North Bay. Is there any board members wishing to comment? Great work, everybody. I'll say this once because we'll move through the others, but this is really great. And appreciate, Lindsay, your work on these and our accountability and our standards and data over the years. It's really good. Okay, then the public hearing is closed. No comments. I'll ask for a motion. Oh, we don't actually do this. This is just a public hearing. Close the public hearing. That's it. Okay. Item 5.2 is a public hearing on the LCAP plan for North Valley. Yeah, I'll open the public hearing. Are there members of the public that wish to speak on the LCAP for North Valley? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. The public hearing is now open for our charter school in Riverside. Any members of the public wish to speak on our LCAP for Riverside? Guess you're doing a good job. Parents are happy. Okay, close the public hearing.
Chance to chime in. So.
Well, these were noticed. We have an email, and so good. That's great. I mean, that's wonderful that people are satisfied. Okay, I'll close the public hearing for Riverside. I'll open the public hearing for San Diego. And Dr. Campbell, do you have any comments on it? Or I really appreciate, again, you being here. Any thoughts on LCAP or?
I appreciate the LCAP. I've taken a brief view of it. And I think the work is speaking for itself. As the authorizer of San Diego, I actually am very pleased at what we are seeing in the LCAP.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I appreciate you being here. It's wonderful.
Yes.
We get authorizers from time to time, and it's always welcome and wonderful. So thank you. And I look forward to getting to know you better over the years. So I like that. Sorry I missed dinner last night. My flight was a little delayed. Okay, then I will open the public hearing for San Diego. Members of the public wish to speak? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing for San Diego and we'll consider these at a future date. Okay, thank you. Move on to our consent agenda and we'll take the consent agenda out obviously as a whole, 6.1 to 6.13. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Hearing none. Board members, any questions or comments? This is a full consent agenda. You packed it up there. Looks like my council consent agenda. I try and put everything on the consent agenda.
For sure.
I said that out loud. All right. Well, if the staff's doing their job, it should be not controversial. Okay.
That's right.
And routine. Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? I'll move approval of the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
please,
I
no.
do have one question.
Yes.
In general, especially the board policies,
Mhm.
if there were any changes to those policies, would they have been stricken and highlighted?
They should be probably, but there was only changes in one of those policies. It was the suicide prevention
Okay.
policy. Would you like me to bring that back so you can see the changes, the red lines?
Not necessarily, but in the future,
Future,
it would be
yeah.
really useful.
Yeah.
Because, I did read, well, let's say I skimmed through them all. I didn't notice anything, but I'm not, I just would like to see what's changed.
Yes.
I think that is
one-
an excellent
That
comment.
That's a
is,
great comment.
That is, and. we
So we'll
will be
redline
bringing-
these.
We will be bringing the mathematics placement policy back as we refine things over the summer, and that is already in a red line version, so that
Great.
is easy. And the only other changes was to the homeless education policy. It was just the person to contact.
Yep.
That's the only change that happened. The Title IX was updated last year there were lots of regulatory changes. So that one is very, very current, and there will be no other changes to it. Or the special education policy, I'm going to allow our new director to look at that and revise that and bring it back to you in August, and again, the math one. So I will make sure they are
The other
redlined.
thing I thought I saw on first read, but couldn't find it on the second read was there anything about, like a what is it?
Active shooter.
Active shooter.
That's in our school health and safety plan.
But there's still work to be done there, as you saw
Got
for self-evaluation.
Yeah.
And we're not,
Yes, that's where I saw it.
yeah,
Thank you.
there's still work to be done there,
Yeah.
which is important. That's concerning to me.
I may want to take that up in executive.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Thank you.
To have that because,
Mhm.
yeah, agreed. Thank you for that. And I think, so you've noted that. We'll redline these. I think it's a very good point.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a similar thought.
But there was only really one that was overhauled, and that was the suicide prevention policy, just adding.
Just looking at my other notes here. Okay, no, I'm good. Any further comment from board members? Did I already entertain a motion a second? I forgot.
Yes.
I did, right? So we're there. Okay. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I thought I did. Okay. Great. Consent calendar is approved. So then now we will go into closed session for purposes Government Code Section 54957, designated Representative Janet Gaskill discussing labor negotiations with employees and public employee performance evaluation, or annual evaluation of the executive director, Government Code Section 54957. Are there any members of the public wish to address the board prior to us going into closed session on these two items? Okay, and hearing none, we will adjourn to. We're back from closed session. We have no reportable action. I will say for the record that we're thrilled with our executive director. She continues to do a great job leading our staff and taking care of our students, and so we're very grateful for her. That said, our next meeting is Thursday, June 15th at 11 a.m. by teleconference, where we'll consider the LCAP, correct?
Yes, LCAP approval
And
and
budget.
budget. approval.
And budget, and yes. And that's it. We'll adjourn to June 15th. Thank you.